This is Inside the Locker Room, where football isn't just a game, it's a war zone. Every take, unfiltered. Every prediction, ruthless. From Sunday battles to primetime legends, we break down the matchups, the mind games, and the moments that define champions. Fantasy, film, trash talk, all inside the locker room. So if you came for smoke, you're in the fire now.
We are back with another episode of Inside the Locker Room on HBCU Central. But today we do have a special guest, Miss Harris from EWU. How are you doing today?
I'm doing good, and you guys?
We're doing well. And if you just want to turn your camera just like a little bit so we can,
Oh, like this?
yeah,
Gotcha.
Yeah, that
that's,
worked.
that's but like we tell all of our guests, thank you for taking time out of your day to come on and talk about your career, Edward Waters. You're really help us promote, Edward Waters, and you're promoting them yourself by coming on here, helping us do everything one and one. But to start off this interview, Michael, I'm going to pass you the mic because I've been letting you start off these interviews lately.
All good, all good. Miss Harris, like Deuce just said, we appreciate you so much, and we appreciate you, Edward Waters University, for backing up your girl here. It's an honor to have y'all on this show. We try to be as real as possible. We're not the most professional,
Mhm.
but we try to make a statement for all HBCUs. That's why I'm wearing this shirt today. HBCU pride as always. Ms. Harris, we appreciate you so much again, and we hope
Right.
that you have fun doing this. All right?
Yeah, I appreciate you guys, and I'm truly blessed to have this opportunity to be on here with you guys today.
Yes, ma'am. We appreciate you. It's a blessing for you to accept our invitation. Miss Harris, I ask these questions in chapters. That's how I break down each question. And my first chapter for you is called On Court Leadership and Playmaking. Miss Harris, this first question is basically your newcomer impact.
Mm.
So coming in and immediately winning the SIAC Newcomer of the Year and all SIAC First Team honors is a massive thing. But what was your process for building chemistry so quickly with your teammates to achieve that success?
Oh, it wasn't easy. It really wasn't easy. I feel like we took some time. It took a lot for us to get to where we were at the end of the season. We're losing the first three games to teams that we know we could have beat was really a mind changer for us and a game changer for real, for real. Um, it was really it was hard. It was really rough at the beginning of the season for us, and we just really had to buy into what coach was really talking about. And I feel like as the season went on, everybody started to buy in, and that was when the wins started coming in, the D1 wins, and beating to nationally ranked teams, and to from going to being at the bottom of the SEAC to being at the top was just like this is what happens when you buy into a team and what coach is saying for real. And it really just changed for us at like going in, and we just kept going, and it was really good.
And you mentioned that it is y'all started rough. So I just
Mhm.
ask you, like, what went into your level of focus, to finish out the rest of the season? Because most of the time when the team starts rough, players often heads go down, and
Mhm.
they lose motivation. But it takes a strong core, to finish out the season. And y'all closed out the season on a good note. So I just asked you, what went into your level of focus?
Um, really, it was really our coach. Um, our coach stood on top of us every day, during practice and even in film sessions. Um, it was really him just staying on top of us, telling us everything is gonna be okay. It like you rather lose now than lose when it's needed. But what went into my level of focus was really just becoming a leader on the court. Um, just being there for my teammates when adversity hits. Um, and being there as a team as well when everybody is going through adversity is really what went into my focus for real. Just being there for each other was really what we focused on for real.
Having a positive coach that can get you through the obstacles,
Mhm.
that takes good leadership. And like me and Deuce, like we tell all our guests, when you have a coach that can work with you and coach with you, because every coach is a good coach. There's no such thing as a perfect coach,
Mhm.
but it takes a coach that is good enough to understand that you're gonna have obstacles, but it's how you get through it.
Mhm.
It's how you learn from it. It's how you take that game and do what you did bad in that game and carry it on to this game. Every game is a note. And that's why there are always film. That's why there's always, meetings and stuff like
Mhm.
that, because that's how you get better. And it takes a village to understand that we're all in this together. And sometimes, my pastor always tell me, sometimes God just doesn't just bring you something, he brings you someone.
Mhm.
And you have Edward Waters, you have your coach, you have your teammates, and how you overcome adversity together is what how your season goes.
Yes.
And you know, and I'm really glad you touched base on that, because that's what me and Deuce try to tell everyone, and that's why we tell our guests, please spread your experience and your knowledge on what you saw, because we can't tell your story for you.
Mhm.
You were there, you were on
Mhm.
the court, so you know what has happened. All
Mhm.
we can do is just give our opinion to the best of our abilities.
Mhm.
So the fact that you touched base on that, I'm glad that you touched that, because it takes a village to get better. It doesn't take just one person. There's no
Mhm.
I in team. So the fact that you guys overcame that obstacle, that doesn't just mean that, oh, you did it, but that also says that you will get more dangerous the more you work at that, overcoming that obstacle, because
Yes.
that's how life is. If you can overcome things in life, you can overcome things on the court. You just got to have
Mhm.
a mindset to do it.
Mhm.
So that leads to my next question, Miss Harris. We're on the same chapter here. This is the second question for you. It's called two-way pressure. See, you aren't just an offensive threat now. You're consistently among the top 20 in the league for steals.
Mhm.
I don't know if you know that or not. What is your mindset when you're defending the opposing team's best ball handler?
Well, from one, Coach EJ will he just his biggest thing is defense.
Right.
So in practice, everything was defense. That was really it. Um, Guarding the best ball handler. It was a struggle at some games. It was a struggle. Um, but being able to do that with the coaches behind me that helped me through every step of the way to for me to be the top 20 in the top 20 and be one of the top defenders in the conference. I'm beyond proud of myself, but I really give it to for the village, like you said, my coaching staff, because they really put a lot of hard work and effort into those defensive segments in practice and being making sure that we don't give these good guards their strong hand and give them the positions that they like and letting them pull up into jump shots and whatnot. I really give it to my coaches for hounding us with defense during practice because man was they some practices, but it got us to where we are now, nationally ranked. So it worked. It worked.
Sometimes the toughest practice is the best practice.
Mhm.
That's
Ooh, I can't hear him.
oh, can you hear me now?
I can't hear you guys.
Okay. Like we were saying before, sometimes the most intense practice is the best practice,
Mm-hmm.
and that's kind of how I looked at it. That's how my high school coach told us when I was playing that sometimes the hardest practice is what makes you better.
Mm-hmm.
There's no such thing as soft practice because if you're looking for soft practice, then you're not going to get better.
Mm-hmm.
That's if you're looking for soft practice, then why are you playing? The most intense practice is what makes you better. That's how you build champions.
Yep.
Um, and honestly, all I can tell you is shout out to your coach and shout out to y'all because I can tell that despite of how intense the practice was, it helped y'all. Did it not?
Mm-hmm.
It did it?
Yes,
Yeah,
it did.
that's what I'm saying. It's not to hurt you, it's to help you. And
Yeah.
some players look at that, and some players don't. It's just really a mindset thing. You just gotta put in the work, as some people say. You just gotta lock in, as the older generation say, lock in. Um, but we're gonna shift gears to this next chapter that I got for you. It's it's basically the historic 2025-2026 season for y'all, Miss Harris.
Yeah.
The 2025 and 2026 campaign has been a landmark year for Edward Waters University,
Yep.
culminating in a historic selection to the NCAA Division II South Regional Tournament in March 2026.
Yes.
Ms. Harris, the question I have for you is: the team made history this month with its first ever selection to the NCAA Division II South Regional. As a leader on this squad, right? What does that milestone mean for the legacy of Edward Waters women's basketball?
I just feel like it brings more. There's more to come. I feel like we did a really good way paving the way for the people for the upcoming chapters of that has for Ever Waters. Um, it just helps up the upcoming generation that's coming to the school and the next recruits that he has bringing, and it just shows you what he wants in a team, and it shows you how bad he wants it because you will always want to end up back in the NCAA tournament. You don't want to go one year and then miss the next year. It's just like, oh, maybe it was just a one time thing. But I feel like we paved the way for the up and coming generation and showed them with the kids that's coming in next year that this is what we want to go back to and we want to go further. So I feel like we really paved the way with this year, and I'm really proud of what we did as a team.
Set the
So,
foundation.
and everybody can hear me, right?
Yeah.
So, okay, so my next question to you, Miss Harris, is you've transferred before, and I just asked you, how did you find your home at EWU, and what just made EWU stand out to the school? Because you've taken off at EWU, and you've done like amazing things this year, accolades, and a lot this year. So, how did you find your home at EWU?
um, I want to say the coaching staff. I really do want to thank the coaching staff for giving me another chance to play basketball because not a lot of people know what my last 3 years look like, and people just see the efforts that you put in and the accolades you bring in and the points that you score. But not a lot of people know that I tore both ACLs my freshman year, my sophomore year. So me just coming back and just being able to push and progress throughout the years and come back and be a SEAC newcomer of the year, first team, and on a winning season from a team that last year really didn't even make the playoffs is just like, wow, like this is a huge step for yourself. Like, and I'm really proud of myself, but I also really have to give my hats off to the coaches for even like looking at me because some coaches wouldn't even look at an undersized kid that transferred 4 times throughout her collegiate career. So it's really like I give my hats off to the coaches, and really it's more so a home because everybody cares about you there. Everybody's there for sports. Everybody's there for you as an individual, academically and athletically. So everybody cares about you, not just what you do on the court.
Great
Right.
response.
Exactly. And that's the foundation of HBCUs. That HBCUs is for everybody, despite of your background, despite of how many times you transferred, despite of you know your grades, despite of just the situation that you're in. HBCUs is for everybody, and there's a slogan at the Grambling State University that everybody is somebody.
Mm-hmm.
Me, I carry that along to HBCUs because everybody can be somebody at an HBCU. Whatever program is best for you, go to that program
Yep.
because HBCUs, you're not just attending that school just to attend. You're
Mm-hmm.
attending that school because you're now a part of the family legacy tree. You're a part of the history that made Edward Waters, University what it is today. Like I said, HBCUs, it's not an event. It's not just a school. It's a history school, and the it literally says that in HBCU, H is a historical black college university, and a lot of people get it switched up because like, oh, it's a black school. No, it's for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
Back then, it was for black
Yes.
people,
Yep.
but now it's for all race. It's for all,
Mm-hmm.
gender, whatever you want to call yourself. It's for everybody. And Edward Waters in particular, like you said, you transferred 4 times. That should not determine, um, as long as you get the opportunity to go somewhere,
Mm-hmm.
um, and be the best that you can be who God created you to be, because that's what you know people look for.
Mm-hmm.
And if schools like Edward Waters University, you're a part of the history, you're part of the family tree,
Mm-hmm.
you're a part of something historical. And I'm really glad that you found that home
Yep.
in Edward Waters University. 'Cause like I just said before, like my pastor Lily says all the time, when God sends you some he doesn't just send you something, he sends you someone, or he sends you someplace that can
Mm-hmm.
help you. And Edward Waters helped you, and I'm so glad that you found that home in EWU.
Yes.
Um, that kind of carries on to my last question for you, Ms. Harris, and it's
Mm-hmm.
kind of like what Deuce just asked. This chapter is called Personal Growth and Aspirations. For the people that don't know, Ms. Harris has a unique background. Having transferred from Lincoln University and um, Cena, I think I'm saying that correctly, where she was a MAAC All Rookie selection. Ms. Harris, this question is called HBCU Pride. I like this one. I like to ask you. This is kind of my favorite one here. You mentioned that you take great pride in playing for an HBCU, and you want to help change the narrative for women from HBCUs entering the WNBA. How has the environment at Edward Waters specifically helped you grow toward that goal?
Um, really, I feel like it grew because realistically, you would really hear people only going to the men's games, but
Mhm.
at Errol Waters, like everybody comes to the women's games. Like it was packed at our games, like fairly packed. Like games, like big games, like the Miles games, Tuskegee. When we play Albany State, those games were like really packed. And usually people don't come till halftime of the women's game just to watch the men's, but they actually came early just to see us play. And it 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 was a really great thing to see because like I said before, at every school you would just be like, "Hey, I'm going to go halftimes of the women's game. Watch the rest so we could sit there and get good seats for the men's." But everybody really came to our games and actually like participated in like the school pride weeks and stuff like that. It was really good to see. But for us to help us to get to like the WNBA standpoint and get us there, I feel like there's more we can do. Um I feel like there's more we can do. I feel like as time goes on and they see how good HBCU women's basketball is and how we could beat some Power Five teams and some Power Four teams, and I feel like we'll get the recognition as the time goes on. In the future, as time goes on, I feel like we'll get more recognition. But right now, I feel like there's a little room for improvement for them to help us and stuff like that. But it's growth. I've seen from like when I first got into college to now, I see growth in what they're trying to do for women's basketball.
Yeah, it's levels. It's levels to this. As as Cameron Jordan, my sax player does. He does this all the time because it's levels. It's levels to
Mhm.
this, and it's levels to getting women from HBCUs entering the WNBA. It's levels to getting them to
Mhm.
that specific level, getting them out there to the world. Like, hey, we belong. We matter.
Mhm.
Uh, because one guest, she put the nail on the coffin right here that women are not looked at as important, and
Mhm.
especially in the athletic world.
Mhm.
And that's kind of another reason why me and do excuse me do what we do to help the women's side and also at the men's side really help HBCUs on both sides in general to
Mhm.
get them out there. Because, like I just said before, the Women's National Basketball Association, the NBA for men, is that we try to understand that there are levels to every single thing that you do, but it also matters about who is helping you get that spread that word out there. You know what
Yep.
I'm saying?
Yep.
And it's players like you, it's schools like Edward Waters University that they matter, you matter,
Mhm.
and correction, we matter, and understanding that we are just as skilled and we deserve the opportunity to
As well.
set our future
Yep.
just as much as Power Five schools do, just as
Yep.
much as Power Four schools do.
Mhm.
And like you said, like I said before, set the foundation. And I honestly feel like women's basketball it's going to skyrocket at a high level. To be honest, it already is.
Mhm.
And it's people like me, it's guys like Deuce, it's players like you, it's universities like Edward Waters to continue to spread that message that we we're not just a minority. We are also a national, worldwide association
Mhm.
that we belong and we deserve to just get as much aspiration as these Power Four, Power Five schools do.
Mhm.
And like you just said, there's levels to this, and we will, we will overcome. We will get to where we need to be.
Mhm.
But like you just said, there's growing stages,
Yes.
and everyone grows at something. That's part of life. That's part of being a human. But I am so glad you touched base on that because in order to set a foundation, you have to start somewhere.
Yep.
Mhm.
And Edward Waters will skyrocket. Shout out to Edward Waters. Shout out to you.
Think.
Um, because on behalf of Michael and Deuce HBCU Central Network, we see you and we respect and we honor what you do
Yes.
and continue doing what you're doing because HBCUs will overcome these Power Four, Power Five schools. And it's going to take all of us. Like I said, it takes a village
Yep.
to make something out of something.
Mhm.
And that's very much all I can cover that. I mean, I wish I could go deep root into that. Deuce, if you want to put some icing on the cake with that,
Mhm.
please do.
And I actually, you pretty much touched base on my last question with when y'all answered that. But I really don't have anything else to say other than thank you for coming on here and really explaining about, literally just about the foundation, because a lot of people will not know. They were overlooked at if you just didn't let people know about that. And
Mm.
the fact that you have actually, you mentioned that you tore both of your ACLs and you're still, still playing. A lot of people would have just put up the shoes, but you're still, got the confidence to keep going. That just shows that
Mhm.
the drive and the dedication, and that means a lot. But I actually don't have no more questions. And Michael, I think you pretty much put the icing on the cake with that final speech.
No,
So,
no, no, no,
Miss
no,
Harris,
no. Harris put the ice on the cake because she said foundation. That was the whole beacon of this show. Foundation.
hmm
And honestly, all I can say is Miss Harris, good word selection, good vocabulary, actually, because that's the whole thing about HBCUs. It's a historical university, but it's a foundation, you know, and there's no greater thing than a foundation where our ancestors started.
Mhm.
And we try to get people to understand that HBCUs is for everybody. Please do not get that black word mixed
Yes.
up because that's what a lot of students have
Yes.
done. And if you watch Tyler Perry's movie Joe's College Trip,
Mhm.
the son he literally said that his friend literally said that HBCUs that's old history. Forget about it. But you can't forget about a foundation and a story like ours.
Mhm.
There's no greater history. There's no greater story than Black history. There's no greater history than an HBCU, and that's just something you can't forget about. And over the years, Tyler Perry made a valid point that now they're trying to make us forget about our own history,
Mhm.
and it's up to us, the the generation or next generation, whatever. It's up to us to continue that legacy and prove that HBCUs are just as important as these other schools are.
Yep.
As long as you're getting your education, as
Yep.
long as you're getting the right playing opportunity,
Mhm.
and as long as you're treated with respect. Because Denzel Washington, he literally said this all the time. Don't go through life worrying about if somebody like you or not, but you better show a hope that they're doing right by you. And that's the thing, about HBCUs is that when you come to an HBCU, you're around your brothers and sisters. White,
Mhm.
black, Latino, Cuban, doesn't matter. We're all in this world together. And that's the thing that, our ancestors like Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, Jesse Jackson, they all came together to the storyline where we're at right now.
Yes. And I don't think people understand that for real because I've seen a lot of people uh talk about how HBCUs are only for black people. Like, no, it's for everyone. Like, we
Everybody.
they're open to everyone. Like, it's just happened so that back in the days where this is where black people just went to school.
That's what,
But
exactly.
now it's open to everybody of every color, like every race, and I don't think people understand that for real because some people are not, really educated on certain things. So they just
Yeah,
it's a lot.
they just have to do their research. And
Uh-huh.
honestly, I honestly believe that whatever college you belong to, that's where you belong. We're not saying that you have to. We're not saying that HBCUs are better than everybody. No, we're not saying that. What
Hmm.
we're saying is that HBCUs is not just for the middle class or the lower class. It's for
Hmm.
all people, regardless of your background. Whether you're rich, whether you're poor, it doesn't matter. As long as you're going to the right program with the right education to where you can, graduate and get far to where, you want to be.
Yep.
And that's why HBCU graduations are so important because you're setting the foundation for the next generation to come in and take your place.
Yep.
That's the whole thing of the HBCU world, HBCU pride, as I called it before, because It's for all of us. We're
Yeah.
all in this thing.
Hmm.
And the way this world is now, we're all we got. You know, um, and I can't touch that anymore. I wish I possibly could, but Miss Harris, you basically helped me out. You helped Deuce out when you said foundation.
Yeah.
HBCU Central Network inside the locker room is a foundation for all sports. But
Yes.
HBCU Central is for all HBCUs because we're setting the foundation for HBCUs because they matter and we want to make sure that they still matter.
Hmm.
Ms. Harris, we appreciate you so much. Edward Waters University, we appreciate you so much for letting your girl come on here, be a part of the show, and give out her knowledge and her experience and setting the foundation or setting the record straight about HBCUs and Edward Waters University. Ms. Harris, we really hope that you have enjoyed just as much as we have.
Yeah.
Um, and I don't really have anything else to say. All I can tell you is grace and peace be upon you, and we wish you the best of luck throughout this off season. And
Yeah.
we also wish Edward Waters University the best of luck throughout the rest of this year, going into the next season and the next school session this year. Deuce, that's all I got on my end.
Yeah, thank you for taking time out of your day to come on, and thank you to shout out to the Edward Waters staff, and shout out to all the Edward Waters athletics program. Shout out that y'all continue, to finish out the school year and do great. You're always welcome back on the show.
Yeah.
We'll send you this, and just make sure you just share this out, and we'll help you. You help us, and it helps the HBCUs overall in general. But thank you for taking time out of your day to come on. And like me and Michael said, you're always welcome back on. But thank you.
Oh,
Thank you guys as well for having me. It was great talking to you guys, and I really like the platform that you guys are putting out for HBCUs.
we
Thank you.
appreciate
Thank you. It means a lot. So Michael, so we have 26 minutes to
it.
cover
Okay,
these next four topics. So we're gonna have to be quick with it. The next
gotcha.
topic up on the board is, we talked about it before the show. Don Thornton,
Yep.
getting possibly approaching these Power Four schools, and we said, I said this all the time. When these smaller schools do good in tournaments and they start making noise, one, they're either not going to want to schedule them that next year because they know that team is too good and they'll lose money. They'll lose money playing them, or they're just going to go and try to poach them and take them as their coach. And we see it all the time in the men's and women's side of things. But Michael, I'll ask you, what is your opinion on that?
Deuce, I'm gonna try to break this down as quick as I possibly can. I was gonna give you a breakdown on, why it is great for her to. I mean, honestly, it's great that Coach Miss Don Thornton is being looked at as indeed a Power Four opening. I'm grateful for that, especially she could possibly be going to the SEC for her historical success at Alabama A&M. But Deuce, I'm going to actually jump the gun and say why Coach Thornton should not go to the Power Four school, and why the Power Four schools want to take away good coaches from HBCUs despite of better opportunities. So the reason why I say Coach Thornton should not go to Power Four school, not because she doesn't deserve it, she gratefully deserves it. I'm happy for her because she set the foundation. I ain't gonna lie, Miss Harris got me saying foundation. She set the foundation at Alabama A&M women's basketball program. But I honestly think she should not be go because while Coach Don Thornton is a rising star, there are several reasons why staying at Alabama A&M or within the HBCU ranks might be better for her career long term than a premature jump to a Power Four program. The first reason is program legacy versus rebuilding stress. Deuce, Miss Thornton has already cemented her legacy at Alabama A&M, right? Leading them to their first SWAC regular season championship in program history. Okay? Staying allows her to build a dominant multi-year dynasty Whereas moving to a Power Four often means taking over a struggling program with immediate high pressure expectations for a turnaround. Do sometimes good money isn't always good money. And like we just said before, like we said before in the show, is that these Power Four schools, all they can offer coaches is bigger money, and that's okay, and that's good and all. You know, I mean, you kind of have to be grateful, but that's all these Power Four schools can offer these coaches. It's more money, and sometimes the best money isn't always the best money. Money don't buy ethics, and I honestly think Coach Thornton should stay at Alabama A&M. But here's my second reason: mission and impact. Miss Thornton has explicitly stated that her coaching is about shaping young black women into leaders. That's why I put parentheses, dudes. Shaping young black women into leaders. And that she thrives as an underdog. The culture and community connection at an HBCU, like the dog pound, as that's what people at, that's what they, my folks over there at them call themselves, the dog pound. I'm all for that. Provide a platform for this specific mission that might be important in a high venue, powerful environment. Recruiting and control, dudes. She is currently considered one of the top recruiters in the country within her atmosphere. In the Power Four, she would be competing against massive NIL, name, image, and likeness. Collect, collectives that can often overshadow, a coach's individual development skills and personal connection with players.
Mm-hmm.
Dude, I honestly believe that a coach belongs where they belong. And
And
Coach Thornton belongs at Alabama A&M, and she belongs at HBCU.
I'm gonna say this to jump off to before we hop to the next topic, because look, we've seen coaches who stay at their schools and they preserve their legacy. We saw with Eddie G. Robinson. We see it all the time. And I wish I can get more coachable right now, but we're in a little short time crunch. And look, if Coach Thornton does make the jump to the Power Four, it's one. I don't think one, as much as we wouldn't like it, we wouldn't be mad though, because that these bigger schools are seeing her talent. But at the same time, you could argue like you stay at this HBCU and you can preserve your legacy for years to come. And you never know with building this dynasty from Alabama A&M, because they've done good the last few seasons. You continue to have that stretch, and they're. But I mean, it was going to come eventually that a coach like her gets poached, to come to the bigger conferences, And I'm gonna read this off of HBCU Game Day. Auburn, who recently just hired Norfolk State head coach Larry Vickers. Vickers got the Tiger to a 15-17 record his first year. His transition highlighted his valuable pipeline from a small Division I program. Athletic departments recognize that elite coaches often operate with fewer resources. So we can show you, it shows that these smaller programs can operate with, like they just said, with smaller resources to compete with these bigger programs. But once they go to these bigger programs, sometimes you get the results you want, but sometimes you don't. And it wouldn't look, if like I said before I started this, if she went up to the SEC, because that is kind of the pipeline that she would be going to, due to her playing style. Look, I wouldn't be mad, because these bigger country, I mean these bigger conferences and schools are seeing her talents. But at the same time, for as an HBCU student, you would want them to stay and keep something attached to that name. We were all happy when Colorado signed Travis, Shador, Coach Prime, but at the same time, it kind of left HBCU students and alumni like, what did y'all just use us for? But at the same time, I it's like I'm in the middle, because I understand it. You go to where your game can get recognized. Just like Mr. McCormick was saying last week when we spoke to him, the Colorado kicker. You go to where your game is recognized, but at the same time, as an HBCU student, you kind of want to preserve your players and say this is ours, because a Power Four will be quick to use them. Like people, I guarantee a lot of players, they don't. A lot of just the casual ball knowledge, casual ball players, knowledge players, they will say, "Oh, Travis Hunter and Shador Sanders, they just came from Colorado. But where'd they go before Colorado? Jackson State, and they were successful there for 2 years. That's where they really started their careers and took off. So I just think that when these players and coaches go up to these bigger conferences and programs, it kind of takes the name away from the HBCUs that are giving the HBCUs that spotlight, and that's what the HBCUs need. If I can word it right, and I believe I worded it right,
You
but
you worded that correctly, and you basically just put the nail in the coffin impact on HBCUs. Because, dudes, here's another thing, and I'm gonna touch it off with this to end this off. When a powerful program pooches, that's why I call it pooches a successful coach, it often resets the program made at the HBCU, forcing the school back into rebuilding phase. This creates a cycle where HBCUs act as development leads for the Power Four, despite the coaches having already achieved peak success in their regional conferences. The HBCU should not be looked at as development leagues, but that's how the Power Four, Power Fives are looking at it. Let's just be real. That's what they call it.
that's just due to money. That's really due to money and the transfer portal and how time has kind of shifted overall. Because you can look back 10 years ago and we saw way more players and coaches staying at these smaller programs because they were still getting drafted out of these smaller programs. And now the focus is on these bigger programs. But speaking of bigger programs, we had 5 HBCUs compete in the NCAA tournament, and we had a few in the NIT and the CIT, I believe. So from the men's side of the bracket, you had Howard, Tennessee State, Prairie View, and for the women's side, you had Howard and you had Southern. Now, let me say this: I give the shout out to the all HBCUs. They made it past the first round, which was the first 4, and that's before they actually got into the bracket. But let me say this: Prairie View and Howard, they had 2 very close games in the first 4. But it showed that these smaller HBCUs can beat these other conferences. It showed it with Prairie View and Howard winning, and it also showed when Tennessee State locked up a high seed in the tournament, despite the round of 64 and all of them losing. My teacher said it the best: you still got to give the HBCUs their props because they won their first 4 game, and that was what the HBCUs needed for that spotlight. And a lot of people did not have HBCUs. A lot of people did not have Prairie View winning. A lot of people had Lehigh winning, even though it was a toss-up game. And a lot of people did not have Howard winning. And Howard came down to like one of the last possessions, but it showed that these HBCU programs can compete. Southern, yes, they played a great South Carolina team, and you can't even blame them for that because South Carolina rolled over the next team they played in the second round. But Southern, and Howard, they still went into the tournament despite losing the first round. They still put up a fight. I'm gonna say this for Howard on the women's side, and Miss Thomas, if she's watching, she can say, look, they may have lost to Ohio State, but they still put up a fight against them. Southern, they still gave it their all, and they went out there and they won their first 4 game. I can't be mad at any of these HBCU programs because they didn't get bounced out the first round. And I was telling Michael like last week, I said, yeah, Grambling performed better against Purdue than Prairie View's performed against Florida. Still, you got to give credit where it's due. When they're going to these tournaments and they're putting up a fight, look, HBCUs are not going to win every year, but it's happened before. Norfolk made a run like in the early 2010s. It's happened before. So all I say is this: you just don't lose hope in the HBCUs. Now, would you like to see a different way, like a kind of tournament, HBCU tournament, like me and Michael were discussing? Yes, that would be ideal. But like, hey, if it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, it doesn't. But at the end of the day, you have to give HBCUs a prop because what they did on the national spotlight when all the doubts behind them, and like Michael said, it shouldn't take that for people to start realizing what these programs are offering.
Exactly, and dudes, you basically just put the nail on the coffin. But to add on what you're saying, like I said before, like I told you in the text, is that these HBCUs, it should not take the history of understanding when all of a sudden, these broadcasting companies select these HBCUs into the tournament when they win their conference tournaments. And the first thing that you see when they pick these HBCUs, they look at the history right away. But my thing is, why aren't y'all looking at the history before these tournaments even start? If you notice, you don't see these broadcasting channels talking about these HBCUs until it's time for what? March Madness, dude.
Or when it's or when it's close to draft time for the NFL draft, when they want to highlight the HBCUs.
Yes, it should not take those certain moments because if you know the difference between Power Four schools and the attention that they get and these HBCUs, these broadcast channels they do it right away. They do it during the regular season. They do it during the conference championship before the conference championship even starts. But
Uh-huh.
at HBCUs, they don't talk about HBCUs until it's time for NCAA tournament, March Madness, and when they pick what HBCU is going to play who. But like I was explaining to Deuce, y'all, is that I honestly feel like it'll only be fair for HBCUs to get the HBCU basketball to get the same amount of opportunity like football is getting with the Celebration Bowl. Or like I told Deuce, there's nothing wrong with HBCUs having their own tournament. BA versus the Sweat, there's nothing wrong with that.
It is.
What I'm saying is, I mean, yes, it's going to be less money, but it'll be more opportunities. It'll be better, you know, I think it'll be more exciting. It'll add more excitement. It'll be more of a history thing because you're already getting the men versus the SWAC in football. Why not get that, in the basketball and somehow, some way,
Yeah.
there,
And like
there
we
is
see,
places.
we see Tuskegee play Alabama State every year for the Turkey Day Classic. So look, different like program sizes, it can happen. It can happen. And actually, Michael, because that segues next into our next topic because we are cutting down short. The HBCU combine is no more, but now they have the HBCU showcase, and I sent that to you. And if you just want to give a quick little overview to our viewers,
Yeah. I'm sorry, I got lost for a second. So, are we still talking about the tournament, or are we jumping into
yeah,
the?
jumping into the HBCU showcase.
Okay, okay.
Because we got roughly about 7 more minutes on there.
So showcase. Okay. So yeah, dude. So basically, the HBCU showcase refers to several critical postseason and pre-draft events. Despite of the scout and highlight elite talent from historical black colleges and universities, the most significant shift this year is the NFL's new unified evaluation format for football, basketball, baseball, all that in particular. So, to give a quick rundown, I'm gonna start with football first. The event and the location, it starts on March 28th through the 30th, the Commanders Park in Ashburn, Virginia. The structure on the field workouts for 48 HBCU prospects take place alongside the International Player Pathway, the IPP Pro Day is what they call it. On March 30th, the top prospects like Eric Hunter, the linebacker for Morgan State, Curtis Allen, running back for Virginia Union, and Noah Miles, the defensive end from Howard, or Walker Harris, the quarterback for North Carolina Central, also high priority targets for scouts. Now, for baseball, excuse me, the Legacy Bowl recap was held on February 21st at Tulane University. The offensive MVP was Jaquan Kelly, the running back from Winston-Salem State, who scored 2 touchdowns, including the game winner. Defensive MVP Michael Lutz II, the defensive end from South Carolina State, who recorded 1.5 sacks. Dudes, I'm gonna give you the top 10 prospects for the sake of time. I've already listed 3 so far, but the next 4 is Bruno. I don't know how to say his last name, but he's an offensive tackle for Virginia State. He's a 6'8", 315-pound massive frame with quick feet. Kenny Gallup Jr. excuse me, defensive end from Howard. Dudes, he's a hard-hitting safety with 2024 Bucking, I believe I said his name right, award winner. Michael Lutz II, basically talked about him. Jaquan Kelly. Okay. Tevin Singleton, defensive back from Jackson State. Lockdown corner, led the SWAC in pass breakups. Darius Meeks, wide receiver out of Alabama A&M, deep threat. Averaged 19.4 yards per catch. Dude, the showcase format, what scouts are looking for. Since this event is combined with the International Player Pathway, it verifies measurements like accurate height, weight, and wingspan. Number 2, Big 3 drill, 4-yard dash, vertical jump, and 3-cone drill to measure explosive athleticism. Position drills for quarterbacks like Walker Harris. This is about showing arm strength on deep outs and consistency in the red zone. Dude, this is a highlighted platform for HBCUs to make it to the NFL, to be drafted. Because, dude, what's the whole point of HBCU Central? To get players the much national media attention that these Power Five schools are getting. And what we're trying to do is we're trying to get more HBCU players drafted because that just doesn't help the players, but it helps the university. It helps universities like Grambling. It helps universities like Southern, North Carolina Central, Jackson State. It helps those schools. Tennessee State. It's the foundation that what made HBCUs what they are today.
And I think you conclude that pretty well. Our next topic actually was the preview of the CIA baseball series, but unfortunately, we are on a time crunch, like me and Michael said. Look, we try to, on a good day, we try to have our episodes long, but some days we do just have to cut them short because we are on air for a certain time. But look, we will talk more in depth about the CIA baseball tourney next week. I know we've been kind of, I'm not gonna say necessarily slacking, but we haven't been on top of the baseball info. So I'll make sure next week that we speak pretty shortly about some more baseball stuff. But let me give a quick rundown of the CIA baseball series. It's against Claflin, my fault, Claflin, Lincoln, Pennsylvania, Bluefield State, and Virginia State. It's an inaugural tournament going on. Check that out if you haven't. Give all the HBCUs your support, just not the big ones, but the smaller ones too. Our smaller HBCUs need as much love as possible. Also, make sure you stay tuned because shortly we do have our next spotlight episode coming up with Mr. Livingston. I believe, Michael, we scheduled it for next Saturday, I believe. Winston Salem will be doing that spotlight. We'll try to get another Winston Salem guest on there. If Michael, if it's a confirmed next Saturday.
I believe so. I remember y'all was in communications about that. But as far as the fourth goes, I believe I'm free for that. So yes, I'm gonna confirm that for now that the fourth is definitely the next spotlight for Winston Salem.
Yes, and then we do have a couple more guests coming on. We're not going to give the names yet. Me and Mike would like to drop them the day of or the day before, so you can be a surprise. But we do have a couple football guests and basketball guests coming on soon that you don't want to miss. But like me and Michael said, we're not doing this just for the views, but the views do help us get the word out. But make sure you like, comment, subscribe, and share on all platforms, Instagram and YouTube. I know that one of our videos with one of our Morgan State videos just recently got to about like 6,000 views. So thank y'all for that. Thank y'all for that. And Michael, before we close this out, do you have any closing remarks, anything to let our viewers know?
Yes. We don't do this for viewership. We do this to spread the message that HBCUs matter, and that's the foundation. HBCU Central. That's the foundation of Michael and Deuce. Um, we're just two young brothers trying to uplift HBCUs. We're not doing this for viewership, even though it's great that a lot of you are seeing the work that we do. We might not be the most professional, but in my opinion, I feel like we're good enough because we try to be as professional and keep it real as possible. We try to give as much information as possible. I try to break down and be real on everything that I say because, you know, I'm a realist. That's just what I do. I don't sugarcoat anything for nobody. I don't do this for likeness. I do this for HBCUs because I want to make a difference for all HBCUs. And hopefully at some point in the future, God sees what we're doing, and hopefully this platform will go bigger. But until then, we're gonna constantly continue to do what we do, giving y'all this content, and we appreciate all the 200 people that have followed us on the HBCU Central page so far and subscribed to Inside the Locker TV because we're trying to make a difference. We're not doing this for viewership. I don't care about that. I care about making a difference and helping our communities. That's what this is all about.
And yes, that is what it's all about. So look, Also, make sure you tune in because me and Michael do have a special guest coming on next week on Inside the Locker Room. It's a mental health awareness guest, and I think everybody should really watch those episodes. He has a great story. He's an author. He's been on the news, so y'all don't want to miss that. And then we'll try to get some more Inside the Locker Room content out. But like I said, make sure you like, comment, subscribe, and share on all platforms. Thank you for all the support. It means a lot. And as always, thank you for watching.
Grace and peace unto y'all.
And see y'all later.